come on. Hi, welcome. We are here today to radiate peace with Jacquelyne Ellis, who is a medium, a psychic animal communicator located in northern Idaho by my folks, as a matter of fact, Bonners Ferry, almost
Yeah,
Canada.
truly. We are
And
truly north.
truly the great white north. And Jacqueline's written a new book to help us deal with the loss of a beloved animal companion. And this is Loving and Losing an Animal Companion. It is so needed right now. Thank you, Jackie, for joining me today. I really have been looking forward to this.
Thank you, Christy. Thank you for giving me this time today. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. So you've been doing this for how long?
I've been a full-time intuitive for about 31 years. I've been an animal communicator for probably 24 years. I got into that out of necessity. I had a bad girl.
Oh, a bad girl, so behavior issues.
Yes, oh yes, I loved her to pieces, but she had behavioral issues. And I thought, okay, you don't want to live in a household, you don't want to abide by rules. I'm going to try to find you a farm. And then that day she snapped out of it and she said, all right, no, I want to start over. I need to start over. All
Good.
right,
Yeah.
well, let's start over. But I had basically failed my first two animal communication courses. So it wasn't until I was working with her directly because I was trying too hard, thinking too much, too mental, trying to do it right. And I was in my own way. And it wasn't until I dealt with my own dog. It's like, oh, it doesn't come from there. It comes from other places. Oh, then
That
I could hear her loud and clear.
Yes, yes, I teach animal communication. And, sometimes we start with, when I teach, communicating with angels and loved ones, we start with heart, but for animal communication, we open the entire body.
Yeah,
Whoa,
truly,
I'm so
truly.
glad for that confirmation. So you've been doing animal communication for a long time, and surely you've met people who were dealing with the loss of a pet. Why did you decide to write the book? Why now?
Well, certainly there's more available nowadays than there was 30 years ago when I lost my first dog. But I talk to people every single day who are dealing with that. Either it's coming, they're in anticipatory grief, they know it's getting near, or they're still really trying to recover and having a really difficult time with that. And so just the little conversations week after week after week, I've really wanted something that I could say, here, go listen to this or go read this, go get that support. And there are books out there now, but I just kept feeling like I've got an original voice. I've got something else to say. And the piece on escort teams, I just felt was really needed. Nobody dies alone. There's always someone to usher someone across. So my own grief and then working with clients every day, it just really made me know that there had to be something else. And I wanted to provide a book that had audios so that people could actually listen and have little meditation and healing that could happen. So it makes it more holistic and more multidimensional than just
Absolutely.
reading a book.
And so these meditations, these kind of guided visualizations, these are from your husband, right?
The first six are my own, and then three of them are his. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a clinical hypnotherapist. So that's
Yeah.
exciting. No, it's excellent to have that support piece. I mean, it's not just reading a book because you feel
Mhm.
like you're actually supported
Yes.
in this.
Yes. Yeah.
We need so much support. Now, you mentioned something earlier that I think not many people are aware of, and that this is the escort teams. Can you talk about that for a minute?
Well, I mean, now we're in COVID lockdown all over the country and different parts of the world. And, there's always times when we don't get to be there anyway. I mean, you take your animal companion to the vet for what you think is a simple procedure and something goes wrong and you're not there. If we're waiting vigil, we've got an animal who's ill and they're ill for weeks or months and we're afraid to leave. It's like, I don't, I'm sitting right here for you. I'm sitting right here for you. And then we end up having to leave and we're not there to say goodbye. And that adds an extra complication to the grief. when we feel guilty, when we're devastated because we weren't there to say goodbye and we weren't there to help them cross. So I want people to know that even if you're not there, someone is. And if you are so connected to your beloved animal that you are in each other's hearts and in each other's souls, the way that somebody who's grieving profoundly, that's the case. It's not just an animal, it's a real beloved. So there is no real separation. Even if you weren't there, they could feel you. And there's always someone to usher them between the worlds on your behalf. There always is. No one dies alone.
No one dies alone. And I think this is an important distinction because I know so many of us, we sit vigil with our loved ones and in hospice and just expecting them to pass. And then we think, okay, well, it's going to be a little while. We should really go take a break. We need to have something to eat. And that's when it happens.
And that's when it happens. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Animals, just like humans, sometimes they want the privacy. You know,
Absolutely.
if they know that it's going to be devastating for us, you know, give me a pause. You step outside and then let me go. Because even when we know they need to go and we're aware as we might be, it is excruciating. And there is some part of our humanity holding them at the same time. Go, don't go, go, don't go. So yeah, some of them will actually choose to pass when their primary human isn't in the room.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they don't want to disappoint their human too.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So who do you feel are the escorts that come?
It's usually someone that they know. Might be a member of their own soul family. It might be a human, an animal.
Mhm.
Might be a beloved that they knew before. It could be someone that they knew in this life. If they had a human or animal companion that passed before they did, I'll see those show up too. The animals themselves will often describe them to me. It's like, oh, there's that really cool cat. I've been seeing that cat. I think I'm going to go play with that cat. And I was like, yeah, well, who's that? Whether that was somebody that they knew in this life or not. Sometimes their people know and sometimes they don't. I've frequently heard my clients say that, oh, well, the person you're describing sounds like my dad who died 3 years ago. And it's like, oh, well, he came to help your cat escort or came to take your dog. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and vice versa too. I remember when my uncle was passing, I've forgotten he had a German Shepherd, but Gretchen came and she was there in the hospice room just waiting for him. I know, yeah, and I see a lot of people who they have their animal companions and their animals saying, "You were there for me." I'm going to start crying now, but they said, "You were there for me at the end. I'll be there for you at the end.
Yeah.
Don't worry about
Yeah.
it."
Yeah. That's a very common thing. The animal will say, I'll be your escort when it's your time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Another thing that you bring up is in your book is the notion of soul families and how our animals play a part in that. Yeah, can you
Yeah.
talk
Well,
about
sometimes it's extraordinary when you first meet an animal and it's like, wow, I feel like I already know you, or hey, the relationship is already so deep. It can just blow us away. It's like you make eye contact. I was looking for an adult dog at one point in my life when I'd lost a puppy, and I didn't want a puppy to have to housebreak and all. I wanted a dog that was already trained and could walk on leash. And I called this woman. I said, "Hey, I hear you have this dog. I'd like to rescue." And she started telling me about it and just talking, describing him. And my heart was just going, oh, I can't wait to see him again. I can't wait to see him again. And it's like, I don't even know this dog. Why am I feeling this way? It's like, I got to see him. I got to see him. And finally, I got to see him weeks later. And it's like, there he is. There he is. Everything I expected. And I'd never seen that dog in this life, in this body, but I knew him. I knew him. Our eyes met. And it's like, oh, yeah, we know each other. So
it?
sometimes it's just that obvious.
We have
Yeah.
that bond with animals. They just,
Hmm.
sometimes people, we put up our shields, we put up our walls.
Yeah. 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 There is a unique vulnerability that I think we can feel with animals. We go beyond judgment and we go beyond the worry about our appearances. Do I look okay? Am I going to sound stupid? I mean, we don't have that with our animals. It's like, oh, I don't look so good, but hey, they don't know or they don't care. It's like, oh, that was a stupid thing to say. We don't have to worry about all that. And it's curious that, about 99% of our exchanges with animals are positive, us with them and them with us. We don't have all those projections of things that we get into with humans. It's cleaner in a way. I don't know, it's hard to put words to, but you know what I'm talking about, Christy.
I do, absolutely. Yeah, they're closer to source. They're so much
Yeah.
closer to source. And they don't have those preconceived notions. I mean, they pick up
Mm-mm.
on your energy. If you're afraid of them, then they know that. But otherwise, they're so open to us. So open.
Yeah, and you're right. They're never separate from their source. They're never separate from the divine. So we can touch that in through them. We can touch that connection too. If we don't have it ourselves, we can feel it in them, and that can take us kind of home to our God in our way too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, in the book too, you talk about 5 things to know. What are the 5 things that we should know about when a beloved animal passes?
Well, the first one I would say is that nobody dies alone. So I'd certainly want them to know that. That's the first. Um, I've never ever heard of an animal that was suffering because of euthanasia or that was upset about having that kind of intervention. If they're compromised, they're ready to go, and they're happy to have it. So it's a horrible thing that we have to make that kind of decision as humans, and yet it can be our final gift, and something that we don't get to offer to our human companions when they suffer for months and months or years. But it is an ultimate gift that we give in that release of going. That permission to go when it's time to go is critical. Um,
And that we can
that
tell.
they remain connected, that the connection continues beyond the veil. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
that connection, heart to heart and soul to soul, the ability to continue even dialogue, energetically, intuitively, telepathically, that continues. Love doesn't die. Love never dies. Relationship doesn't die. Um, and we have to get a little beyond the trauma and drama of the loss, really, in order to feel that. Truly, when we're in the midst of it, I mean, if I'm right in the midst of the deepest grief, there's too much static in my energy field for me to really hear or feel my animal clearly, and it can be very difficult for them to get through. So I might be, yelling, I'm not feeling them, I'm not feeling them, I'm not feeling them. And if I settle down enough to open, I would be able to feel them. So once the intensity of the grief begins to lift out of our field, our ability to feel them, sense them, and hear them again can come. So I'd want them to know that too, that the relationship can continue, but boy, we're in the throes of it. It's very difficult to get that connection clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, if someone's talking to you the whole time, you can't listen, right? You've got 2 people talking to you at the same time, you can't listen. So we need to be quiet.
Yeah.
And what you said about permission and euthanasia and giving our beloved pets permission to go. I had a client just yesterday said, "Hey, here's my dog, and he's going slowly paralyzed in his back legs. When do I know? And will he know that we're not giving up on him?" And I said, they never feel that. They
Mm-mm.
never, ever feel that you're giving up on them. They don't have the concept.
No,
They don't have
truly.
the concept. And then when I told him, I showed him that, you somebody comes around, you get a shot, and then you can get out of your body and go run and play. And he was like, I can? I'm so happy. Well, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah. Why would I want to stay here and drag my legs around? And yeah, 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 yeah.
So sometimes we project our human feelings onto our animals, don't we?
Oh, often. Yeah, often.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. When my Silky passed, I had given her, lost my screen. I had given her a meal the night before, and she was throwing that up. And so I felt bad. I said, oh, I shouldn't have fed you that. I shouldn't have fed you that. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have fed you that. And she was looking at me kind of confused. She said, that didn't kill me. What took my life. The food that you gave me, that didn't do it. It's like, hello, mom, reality check, you know? It was like, oh, yeah, okay. So I kept thinking, well, gee, the last meal I gave you upset your stomach. And she says, well, but I had an upset stomach. It wasn't like the meal killed me, you know? So it was like, she was the one who helped me to process that. I was like, oh, I wasn't thinking clearly. So they know often better what's going on than we do.
Oh, much
Yeah.
better. Oh, much better. And I mean, and so many times they're so sick, they're having problems and everything. Really, they're disappointed that I mean, there's, it's not really even sadness because they don't feel that, but it's that would want to please us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I can't eat normally. I can't walk normally. I'm
Right,
this
right.
person.
Yeah. And just like, humans, many of us humans don't want to be messy. We don't want to not be able to, urinate or defecate off of ourselves. And we can sometimes forget. Sometimes animals are that way too. It's like, I don't want to be sitting in my mess all day. I'm embarrassed about that. I'm uncomfortable about that. And so, sometimes it's those things too. It's like I can no longer do those kinds of things on my own or by myself. And it's okay, mom. You can let me go. Yeah. And we wonder, when is it time to bring a new animal into our life, and that's a very, very individual decision. In general, I think I would recommend people wait a few weeks, give yourself time to just deal. And if there is a surviving animal in your household, they might really want to or need to be the only animal for a little while. They might need some extra attention before we bring somebody else in. And for other people, it needs to happen right away. So that's a very individual thing. I don't think there's any rules on that. I have a friend in Portland that just, she lost her kitty like 17, 18 years. And within 3 days, she had another cat. And at first I was like, ooh, but it was like, no, it was perfect. It's absolutely perfect. But I know for me, I adopted a puppy too early one time. And it wasn't good for me and it wasn't good for him. He was following me around, 24/7 on my heels, trying to bond with me. And I wasn't ready. And I was like, I'm still grieving, I need some space. And so that wasn't fair to him or to me. So it's something you really have to be with in a very private way to sit into that feeling.
Yeah, to process your feelings. That's a
Mhm.
really good point that this new animal's this new animal doesn't feel that loss. They want
No,
they're happy. They want to explore. They want to bond.
yeah,
They want to be on your
yeah.
lap. They want to be with you and
Hmm.
be ready to truly welcome. We think we are, but we might not truly be ready to welcome a new
Hmm.
animal to our heart.
Yeah, yeah. I might have a broken heart and want somebody to fill my broken heart, but I might not really be there to really give a rescue animal what they need. So thinking about what their needs are, what's best for them to give them their best start to, or to integrate them into your household and family. Yeah, it can take a while.
Hmm. And what about the animals that are left behind? Like if you've got, more than one animal at home, the other ones, they suffer too when they lose a friend.
They sure do. Yeah, when someone asks me, do animals grieve? I'm thinking, you haven't had that experience, because yeah, obviously they do. When when our boy Sparky passed, my girl Silky got really depressed. She didn't want to eat. She didn't want to play. There was nothing we could do to snap her out of that. And she knew it was coming because he'd been sick for quite a while. So it wasn't like a sudden thing. But when he was really gone, she was really, really, really depressed. So they do need help. I would say, please don't be too quick to get rid of the other animals' things. If there's toys or even a food bowl or something, that, you know, a blanket or whatever, leave that for the other animal to be with for a while. Don't be too quick to clean things up. They need to have some time and space too. They might need to isolate a little bit, but I wouldn't want to isolate too long. It's like if you've got an animal that's normally really available and then suddenly isn't, I want to check on them and see if you can bring them back around. But do give them some time and some space. You know, we can overwhelm them with our emotions. You know, we just are. We're very emotional beings, some of us more than others, and the intensity of human feeling can be a lot for an animal to bear. But if, you know, I wouldn't want to separate them from my experience either. You know, yeah, I'm crying, I miss them, and I know you do too. So we'll deal with that together. We'll be here together through it. But keeping them on a real consistent routine, keeping them on a schedule, doing as much of the same things that you were doing before, that helps. And just like humans, it's a variable thing. It could take days, it could take weeks, it could take months before you really notice that, you know, oh, okay, now they're coming back. And to some degree, the surviving animal could even what you and I kind of think of as channel some of the behaviors of the animal that's passed. So you might even notice that. It's like, wow, they never did that. That's what, you know, that's what Rocky always did. Why is Ruxy doing that? You know, and it's like, what? And it's like, wait a minute, that's a strange behavior. You've never made that sound. So you might notice things are changing as the other animal adjusts too. So
That's an excellent point. Yeah, they pick up their behaviors and they start to take on some of that energy. And I noticed that you in your book you echoed something that I always talk about, and that's the kind of the animal collective soul, that they come from the, I call it a soul soup.
yeah, that's good.
So they could be picking up from some of this soul soup, the patterns and behaviors and the energies of their doggy brother or sister,
hmm
sister,
hmm
right?
Absolutely. Desired or undesired, you know, behaviors. It's like, oh, I really missed that. I really missed that. You know, that little quirky thing that your sister did, or that really, you know, strange vocalization your brother did. And then they might start doing it, and it's like, whoa, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You know, so yeah, it's I mean, they're very sensual creatures, animals, and really they can just mutate in a way. I mean, they can really take on the vibrations of things just so easily. So yeah, I like that. The soup, yeah, the collective soup.
Soul soup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like my daughter even took on, and I joke that she is Milu reincarnated, but she does so many of my dogs, and she never even met her.
Oh, funny.
Takes on, but I had a very, very vivid prophetic dream of the dog before my daughter was born.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
pretty
Interesting.
magical. So 4 months to the day that she was born. And so it's interesting. I just kind of joke that she cocks her head the same way. She looks back at me the same way. She stays forward of me just the same. It's uncanny. Yeah,
It's amazing. It's
it's
amazing.
amazing.
You know, I remember I used to watch Caesar Milan years ago, and we were having, you know, issues with one of our dogs, and he was frequently saying, "You don't always get the dog you want; you get the dog you need." You know, and it's like, I don't like that answer, you know. But it's like, oh, you know, you see, you know, this one's troubling me. I'm constantly, you know, having issues come up, and it's like, all right, it gives me a chance to look at what's going on with me, what's happening here. So yeah, it's they are here for us. They change us. Our 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 humanity changes. It's an opportunity to grow spiritually. mean, it is a very deep relationship. Again, as we were saying earlier, in so many ways more intimate than we are sometimes with humans. We can be more vulnerable. We can just, we let it all hang out, and we can't lie to our animal companions. I mean, I can fake something with a human, but you can't fake nothing with your animal companion. They know, oh yeah, I'm fine. They know bullshit. They sense something, physically, emotionally. They can tell when something's going on psychologically. Of course, our smell changes to them, moment by moment. So they're really on us and track us what's going on. So that's a intense kind of intimacy, and our lives with them, and walking through the process of losing them in our physical world. It's all part of the spiritual,
Yeah, they're
the
spiritual.
rhythm of everything. Yeah, they change us. We're affected by it.
Mm-hmm.
We become different as a result of their life and their death.
That's a very
So,
good point. I interviewed David B. Oh shoot, I'm gonna mangle his name, but he wrote a writer who wrote a book called Walks with Sam, and it was his walks with his labradoodle, daily walks, and his meditations, his cogitations every day. It started as a blog and turned into a book, but just chronicled his own spiritual growth that he was able to take when he slowed down and walked with his dog. Our animals do that with us and for
mhm,
us.
mhm,
There's that intimacy. I think that it is so bonding for us. We're not that
mhm.
intimate with many of the people in our lives.
No, no, we're not. We're not. And yeah, the animal's ability to be just truly present. I mean, we talk about being present in the moment and just be here now and all that, but they are that. They are that. And they are really present, and their moments are fully rich. I had a conversation with a rat recently, and I admit, I like rats, but I wouldn't want to have a rat, because I was thinking, well, they only live like 2 years, and you're facing grief every 2 years. I wouldn't want that. And I went into that conversation with him thinking about time and how limited it was, and how, I'm not ready to let go of an animal after 18 years. Why would I want to, face a loss after two? And he confronted me immediately with my ideas about time, and it being short and finite, and gee, how sad that would be. And he was like, you're talking about time, I'm talking about quality. I'm talking about quality of time and quality of life. And he fits more into those 2 years than most humans, do in 40 or 50. So it was really profound. It's like, wow, yeah, okay. I do get caught up in the time, and it's about the quality.
Well, and again, we project very human emotions and very human thoughts onto animals. It's like s- they're speaking Chinese and we're speaking Martian. It's
Hmm.
not even the same species language.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. No. So yeah, that rat was looking at me like, you're talking about grief and, sadness about something not lasting long. It was a pretty profound teaching for me. I was like, wow, yeah, it's not about the quality, the profound quality, the incredible ecstasy, and full on absorption of all that was available in his moments was just incredibly rich. It's like, wow, yeah.
All the
Yeah.
smells, all the
Mhm.
tastes, all
Mhm.
the sensation.
Yeah. And not anticipating loss or something coming. I mean, that's something that we humans are like, oh, I'm going to miss that, or oh, pretty soon that's not going to be there. And our animals don't do that. They
Mhm.
just they don't worry about what might or might not happen next. They're not burdened by, that, and they're not looking back in reflection. Oh, I wish that hadn't happened. Oh, I wish we hadn't done that. They don't have that. So there's a freedom, of that ability to be in the moment, and that ability to jump in or out of body.
Mhm.
Again,
And
of course they do have fear, and of course they do have sadness, but that ability to go in and out of form is just so much easier for them.
well, if we could imagine we only have 2 years, and then it would be such a natural thing to us. Not that animals
Mhm,
have any sense of
mhm,
time,
mhm,
but just realizing that, I mean, for us, a lifespan is 80 years. And so we don't think of it as differently for our animals. I don't know. I'm botching this idea greatly, but my point is, I think that they just don't have a concept of time. They don't have a concept of passing, of death, and having that looming over them.
No. Once they know that their human or their animal companions are going to be fine, they're pretty quick to move on.
Hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, for us, we enter into the relationship with our animals knowing it's going to end,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have that concept.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No.
So, a big part of your book is self care after we lose an animal companion. Why did you include that?
Well, we can be devastated. I mean, again, this can be the most profound relationship for some humans. And especially if they've been sick for a while and we're trying to help them, trying to, do everything we can to keep them going. We can be channeling our own essence into them, day after day after day, day after day. And then when they're gone, we've lost part of ourselves even. And if we work from home, which many of us do now, and some of us have always, but some more now than ever, the house is empty. The void, the screaming noise of their absence can be just absolutely devastating. And everywhere you go, there they are and they're not. There they are and they're not, right? And it can make some of us feel kind of cuckoo. So we can really lose ourselves. Spiritually, we can feel disconnected from our own source, our own spiritual relationship, and we can have crazy thinking going on. Oh, I should have done that and I shouldn't have done that. Oh my God, it's my fault, and guilt and regret and all that. So psychologically, we can just eat ourselves. And then physically, we're not sleeping, maybe we're not eating well. We're poisoning ourselves with our toxic thinking. So we can become really sick with these things. And loss of an animal companion almost inevitably is complicated by grief, by guilt and regret, almost always. So, that becomes harder to move through. So self-care is incredibly important just so that we actually can recover and not go downhill, so to speak, after the loss of an animal companion. And also, if we want continued connection, if we want to be able to see them, sense them, feel them, and have that ongoing relationship, we have to clean out some of the heaviness of our feeling stuff. And we can't carry it. That gets in the way. So self-care makes it much easier for them to contact us. It makes it possible for us to actually have that feeling and that experience in a real conscious kind of way. Otherwise, it's not. It's all mucky and murky, and we can't get it. And so self-care is important for that aspect because it makes their ability to connect and to reach us just a whole lot easier. Whole lot easier.
You even have some DIY tips
Mm,
in your book for
mhm,
continuing that connection. Yeah.
mhm.
Can you tell about?
Yeah, and if your animal's still alive, it's even easier to do it while they're still here, even if they're failing. But if they've already passed, you can still do it. You're just building an etheric, energetic bridge between the worlds, between the physical and non-physical world. The animals already know how to use it. They already know how to do that. They're real good at that. It's us that need to learn how and then practice to make that happen. But once you've got the hookup, you can start a relay. And sometimes it'll be very physical. Sometimes it'll be very emotional. Sometimes some of you are going to hear words. Some of you are going to be visual and see things. But that continued connection, whatever that is for you, can be so tangible and so obvious. This isn't airy-fairy woo-woo. This is real. Our ability to connect and to stay linked and in relatedness between the worlds with our human and our animal beloveds is very real.
Right. Sometimes we even hear the clicker of their nails on the floor.
Absolutely.
Tags.
Absolutely.
Feel them jumping in
Absolutely.
the bed.
Hmm. And we, with an animal, we're not holding them back by doing that. I mean, if they are your beloved and there is really a soul link, then they're going to stay connected and they can continue to go on. They can continue to have their spiritual journey that is bigger than you and includes you at the same time. So we're not holding them back by, hey, could you come and visit with me every week? It's like, yeah, no, go ahead and do your thing, but hey, still come back and visit. Yeah, they can do that really easily. So you're not holding them or restricting them from going on with their journey. It still can include you and be more than you. So yeah, it's this is not only possible, it's something that many of us continue to do very consciously and very regularly.
And you do
Yeah.
walk us through some things, some practices that we can do to connect
Yeah.
with our loved ones, our loved animals.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And as you said earlier, one of the most important things is that animal communication is really holistic. It uses all of our bodies. It doesn't come from here. We get too much in the way. Yeah, I include the steps, but just going 1, 2, 3 ABC and from a mental point of view is not going to give it to you. It is a whole thing. You're going to want to feel like you're an animal. You're talking to your bird, be a bird for a minute. Get into that bird body. If you're talking to your horse, be in a horse. You got to be horse. You can't just be up here in human head. It's like
Mhm.
you're not going to get it. You want to have contact with your dog. It's like, yeah, all right, what is a dog? What does that feel like, look like, smell like, taste like? Got to get in that and then sense and feel it from there. It's not up here.
Right. Well, it's like if you're trying to learn another language, you don't learn that language expecting it to be just like your language, but with different words. The
Mm-hmm.
word order is different. The placement of the subject and the verb is different. And so you
Mm-hmm.
just got to get out of your head and embrace a different way of communicating. And what Spirit just told me is that animals communicate, literally communicate with their entire body.
Yes,
And so
yes.
we need to be present in our entire body and be the horse, be the dog
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
absolutely. Animals are amazing teachers. If we let them, they will truly teach us and help us to rise out of our misperceptions and our confused paradigms and the things that we get into psychologically. There's a purity to animals. Um, they can just be incredible spiritual teachers and guides.
Which brings me to a point that I was wanting to ask. I've encountered so many people who've had animals who have very challenging behaviors, who would bite and could be considered dangerous, and that they have needed to make a decision to put them down because they were a danger
Mm-hmm.
to others. Um, so what would you tell a pet owner who is having to face this?
Well, sometimes knowing what's going on doesn't necessarily change it. We can communicate to a human or an animal, this is not okay behavior. This is not acceptable. We need you to do this and stop doing that. Please change this, do this and not that. And just like with humans, I'm always looking at willingness and ability.
Hmm.
If there's no ability but there's willingness, we can learn to do things different. But if there's no willingness, then there's no willingness. So it's like, all right, you're not going to develop new skills and new tools. You're not going to develop new ways of being if there's no willingness to do so. And some animals, just like some humans, can't. Sometimes there's something wrong in the brain, something isn't developed. There might be just, something in the, center of the brain that's, specific to, what we would think of as the anger center or something, and it can't shift. It might actually be a biological issue. It's just because we understand it, doesn't mean we can change it. So you know, with my Silky, when she was having such bad behavior, it wasn't dangerous, but it was just really obnoxious. I mean, she was like eating pillows and destroying things, and, you know, one out of every pair of shoes, and, you know, take her out for a walk for 2 hours, come back and she'd pee right in front of you, you know, and it's like, I just being a bitch, you know. So, I mean, it's like, okay, well, those are behavior issues, but she was willing to change it. When I said, hey, all right, I will find you a farm. You don't want to be in a house, I'll find you a farm. You can live outdoors. And she said, no, 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 that's not what I want. I want to be here with you. Let's start over. But I was able to give her that choice. It's like, can you? This is what I need us to do. If you can, let's do this. And if you can't, then I would find her a farm. You know, I'd find her another house. So with this, I'd say do your best to communicate. Talk to somebody like Christy, talk to a good animal communicator, see if you can make the hookup. What is going on? Why? Are they just trying to communicate something, or are they really having something that they can't snap out of? Maybe it is a chemical imbalance. Maybe it is a physiological chemical thing. We don't know. Maybe there's actually a growth in the brain or something. We don't know. So try your best to communicate. Find out, you know, is this destructive behavior, or this, you know, some kind of real behavioral issue or not. Sometimes there are animal psychologists that can help. Sometimes there are behavioralists that can help. And sometimes the animal just says, this is what it is. It's how I am. It's who I am. Deal with it. And then we have to decide, can we or can we not? If you're going to harm me or harm my other animals in the house, obviously I can't keep you. And then I have to say, well, can I rehome you? Could I place you with someone who you're not going to be able to harm? You're not going to hurt their animals if they don't have any other animals. Maybe it's somebody who's a lot higher energy level than I am, and they can deal with you and I can't. You know, somebody who's stronger psychologically or physically, better able to handle a big dog that's got issues. I can't, and I don't want to. So, you know, maybe it's just not a good fit between me and the animal. On the other hand, maybe this animal really isn't able to live with anybody. And then, okay, that's not a safe animal. And yeah, they may need to be put down. And that's, you know, that's sad and tragic, but we have to do what we need to do to keep ourselves safe and to keep our other animals safe.
Yeah.
And just like with a human, if I had a crazy person living in my house that wasn't willing to get medicated, you know, and wasn't willing to deal with their crazy, then I have to decide, am I going to continue to live with it or not? And I choose not.
Mhm.
And, you know, that might make me sound like a horrible person. Hey, this is a family member and you're telling them to move out. But hey, I got to keep myself safe and sane. And so I got to do what I got to do that.
Absolutely. I don't feel like there's any shame in this, but so many people carry that baggage with them, and they just carry it in their heart and feel extremely guilty. So I'm so glad that you address the concept of guilt in your book. We do feel these things about our animal, even putting down a sick animal.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Think it's
Having to make the decision of euthanasia is just devastating to so many people. It's like, I'm taking their life. I'm playing God. How can I, you know, live with that? It's like, well, it is the position we're in. You know, most of our animals just, they don't live very long. And most of the people that I know that love animals, their animals get better medical care than they do. You
right.
know, I mean, we're spending all this money to make sure that we give them the best food, you know, that we keep them safe from predators, we keep them safe from pests. I mean, you know, I hear people all the time say, I wanted my animal to have a natural death. We don't allow that. I mean, you know, for most of these animals, they don't have that opportunity. We are pampering them, we're spoiling them, we're getting their nails trimmed, and we're doing their anal glands, and I mean, we're doing everything that would never happen in the wild. So they don't have that, you know, chance, if we call it that, to have a natural death. No. So chances are we are going to have to intervene, because these are pampered, spoiled beings that have been protected and nurtured in a way that wouldn't happen in the so-called wild.
And would we allow our animals to have a natural death in excruciating pain?
No,
No.
no, 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 no.
No.
Again, it is something we can do. It is an intervention that we're allowed and permitted, and it's the final gift. If they're suffering, if they're in pain, you know, if you've had a dog that was really active, if you had a horse that, you know, was busy, you know, and then they're not able to, and they can hardly even eat, and it hurts to do just about anything, that's not a life. That's not a life. no.
I would want someone to do that for me if I got to that
Me
point.
too. Me too. Yeah, I would
The
too.
kindest, most compassionate thing we can do when the animal
Hmm.
just physically is not able to pass on their own, or we just don't want to put them through that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I remember one of my little kitties had gotten to, he was a big Garfield cat, big fat orange cat. He got down to 4 pounds.
Oh my.
And I said, oh my gosh, it is time. It is time. I probably
Yeah.
should have done it before.
Yeah, better a few days before than, a day too late. When they're really suffering, oh gee, and that can happen on, New Year's Eve or, Sunday night. I mean, it's, when you can't get to a vet, and it's like, oh shoot, if I'd done it a couple of days earlier. So yeah, and it's a very gentle process. It really is.
Mhm.
It's
What
not
can
not
we
a horrible
do
thing.
to help our animals through? I mean, I don't know that maybe that's me projecting a human emotion onto it, but what can we do when we are having to make that final vet visit to help our animals?
Certainly, I think we've already said it. The primary thing would be permission to go, just permission to go, letting them know that though we don't want them to, we give them permission to go. I wish I could keep you here, but I can't. I know you need to go. You've got other things to do, and I release you to go. That's the most important thing because they will struggle to stay here for us, and they will just pretend not to have pain, and they will just continue to soldier on. And so that permission to go, that you're going to do your best to carry on, you're going to do the self-care that you need to stay well, and you're promising them that I'm going to continue, and I will do what I can to get well, and you go ahead and go blaze the trail ahead of me, and then come and get me when it's my time. That really facilitates.
That's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing. And just again, the concept of taking care of yourself during that time, not rushing into getting another animal
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
replace, and taking care of the animals that are left behind too. Their animal
Yes,
friends.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's good to wait if you can to get another animal companion too, because we humans inevitably, even if we say we're not going to, we can be disappointed. Well, this isn't Penny. It's like, no, there's no replacement, honey. You lost Penny. Penny's gone. This isn't Penny. And it's like, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. No, I'm not Penny. I'm Harry. If you've always had girls, get a boy. If you've always had boys, get a girl. If you've always had the same breed, maybe look at a different. Because if you're that kind of person who gets attached to a certain thing, and I'm one of those, I am a double Taurus for God's sake, I can get kind of attached. So having something that's totally different can throw you out of that box. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not even expecting you to be anything like that. That's a totally different thing.
Right.
So
And
be aware of that too.
yeah, and I do know people who've done that before, get a completely different breed,
Mhm.
and just so there's not that even that expectation.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I feel like we've talked about so much today. Is there anything else that you think is important to add, or something that we haven't?
I don't think so, really. You mentioned when we first spoke this morning that, and I agree, there's not much out there for children, for kids who are dealing with a loss of a companion animal, and I'm not doing that. So anyone who's got little kids that are having this experience, I would certainly send them elsewhere. My book is written for adults who are going through this, and it is a very, again, very holistic, multidimensional thing. These relationships with our animals are that. And the process of getting through this journey, we don't ever get over death. We don't get over the people and the animals that we've lost. So that's certainly not the expectation here, but that you would have the support to go through the journey and to be able to integrate the loss into your spiritual awareness and into the tapestry of your life experience. So every loss will be different. Every animal's different. Every relationship is different. Be gentle with yourself. Try not to have expectations. Try not to push yourself. I should be through it by now. It's been months. What the hell's wrong with me? It just takes whatever it takes. And it is an active process. It is a lie that time heals all wounds. That's not accurate. That's a lie. It takes more than that. It takes active, conscious participation in getting the support you need.
Oh, absolutely. Well, again, the title of the book is Loving and Losing an Animal Companion by Jacquelyne Ellis. And Jackie, where can we find this book?
It's on Amazon right now. And yeah, right now it's only in a Kindle version, but we will have a beautiful print picture book available next month. So it's right now it's only Kindle version, but it's available on Amazon.
Wonderful. And your website is lovingandlosing.com. And
Yeah.
there's information there about some of your other services. And then you also have JacquelyneEllis.com.
Oh, Jacquelyne at sacreddialogues.com. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
My other business. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll put both of those websites in
Okay.
the show notes. You do so much and have so many resources out there. So I definitely want our listeners to go to your websites and check. And you
Great.
have a Facebook group too.
Yes, Pet Loss Heartache is both a site just in general for pet loss and all things animals, and then the private group is for those of us who are grieving. If you need support or if you have support to offer others that are going through the process, yeah, join me in my private group for that.
Pet
It's
Loss
starting to grow.
Heartache on Facebook.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Christy.
Thank you so much for joining me today, Jackie.